If there's something strange, if there's something weird, who are people gonna call?
Ghostbusters, what do you want?
We're the Ghostbusters. Can I tell you something else?
What?
Buster makes me feel good. It makes me feel good.
Congrats on this movie. It's so fun. Obviously, I love that the old cast is back, but I was especially excited that Slimer's back.
Yes.
And I was curious if you guys were fans of Slimer from the first film and what your reaction was when you heard he was going to be in this movie.
He's a real Slimer.
Very difficult to work with.
Yeah, challenging. Poor Finn. I mean, all that iconic, all those Easter eggs for the fans are the best part of working on the movie in a way, because including the OGs, because that's the stuff people go wild over, and we know that. We're kids. We're products of the '80s. We've always Ghostbusters has always been a part of our lives. So therefore, Slimer has always been a part of our lives.
Yeah, and there is something you kind of forget about. What we're character, what I'm supposed to do in the film when it's like you're standing next to, oh my God, there's Slimer. There's like, because it is a practical puppet.
Yeah, they got it.
Or a ghost trap or the Ecto-1. And there are these kinds of, these feelings of nostalgia and surreal, surreality.
Surreality, yes.
Yes. Surrealism.
Yeah.
That they just kind of they kick in, and it's an amazing thing. It's an amazing thing to get to experience. Obviously, standing next to the original Ghostbusters in flight suits while it's happening is to kind of cap it all off. Yeah.
No, it's the cherry on top. I mean, the nostalgia for me is like, it feels like a warm chocolate chip cookie in your stomach. But you said product of the 80s, Carrie. Did you guys ever drink Ecto Cooler? Do you remember
the commercials. My mom didn't buy it for us. She was a Coke lady. She drank a lot of Coca-Cola. So that came off wrong.
Strung out on cocaine,
strung out.
Which you could never get her to the grocery store to buy her.
Well, that's actually true. I used to buy her cigarettes for her. But yes, no, I remember those ads on
we
TV.
had so much fun back then.
Oh man, it was so much looser.
Yeah.
Are they bringing Ecto Cooler back?
I hope so, because it sounds as nutritional as it is.
Yeah.
To go off what you were saying about the nostalgia and the Ecto-1 that you said, I have to ask, obviously, I know a lot of people are going to ask you, but I love cars so much. And like the Ghostbusters vehicle, I know it was like a modified 1959 Cadillac, like Miller Meteor Sentinel ambulance that they converted into like a limo style car.
Well done.
Which I think is so cool. And I know you got to ride in it. Paul, you're one of the few that get to say that you got to drive it. So what is it like driving? Is it like heavy? Like I was hoping you guys could give us.
It's
kind of falling apart, really.
It's as heavy as you think it would be. One of the cool things is that has been around. I think that was in the original film. There's not a lot of them.
Yeah.
And you can't just kind of go ahead and make a new one. So it feels inside when you see it's all there's metal and gears and things. It feels like the proton packs where you look at it and think, this should work. This seems like a vehicle that would be built for catching ghosts. It's really impressive.
Also, you need a tetanus shot. It's kind of dangerous.
To start it, you have to start it down low. It's a crazy vehicle to drive, and it feels a little jerry-rigged.
And you really have to give it a lot of gas to get it to start.
Yeah,
it's hard to start.
Yeah, it's
and not flood it. You know,
it's not an easy vehicle to drive. But once it's up and going. It's like anything. It's like, oh yeah, no, I got it, and it was very exciting to get to do that.
Were you nervous to drive it at all because it's so sort of precious and there's only so many, or did you kind of just like put your foot on the gas and you're like, let's go? There were about 20 different reasons to be nervous in this film, like acting alongside the OGs, being like putting on the thing and shooting, like all of this stuff is kind of nerve-wracking because it's so iconic that in a way you kind of have to flip that switch in your brain and just go, okay, I know what I need to do. And I think that the nervousness was supplanted by sheer excitement. The fact that I know there's not a lot of people on the planet that can say, no, I actually did drive the Ecto-1 and I am now going to be one of those people. And so that was just very, very exciting. Had I wrecked it, I would never have forgiven myself.
No, that would have been bad and been headlined everywhere. But you mentioned obviously multiple times working with the original cast. You guys are kind of like the mid-generation G-Busters in a way, which is kind of cool. It's like, you're not here, you're not there.
Yeah.
Any advice that the old gang imparted to you guys you can share?
I got some
with us?
advice about pantomiming the proton pack. You know, it's a very particular thing, and everybody has their own style. And the mistake you could make is like really overdoing it. And so I definitely asked Bill Murray and the guys to give me some pointers, and that was really helpful.
I tend to overdo it on most of my acting choices.
Yeah.
Regardless, not even proton packs, just scene work. And so I'm always trying to dial back.
I love it. You know, Paul, I'm sure you remember this. You are my favorite interview to date because when I interviewed Paul for Endgame, he fell out of his chair during the interview.
Oh, wow.
And I know that we'll never sort of top that, but I was hoping to kind of go for a big swing moment right now and play a little bit because I feel like you guys are fun and we're having fun.
We're fun.
I'll sort of
fun.
show you what I mean right now.
Okay.
But in your most scared frozen pose, can you tell me what situation you would least like to be frozen in?
Okay.
Drowning.
Is that your frozen?
That was it. That's all I got.
Exactly right. I think
Now give me your frozen pose.
All right.
Very good pratfall. Very good. He would least like to be frozen in an interview with you.
Yeah.
Really good.
Yeah.
Oh, you just keep getting better and better, and this just made my day.
He's like a
I love you
fine
guys
wine.
so much.
Thank
guys are the best.
Thank you, and thank you.
I hope your wife agrees.
You have a miner hanging out the side of a moving vehicle, firing a laser gun indiscriminately.
Has a proton pack.
It's completely safe.
I wouldn't say completely safe.
The Ghostbusters are finished.
Right. Well, overruled.
Sustained.
Thank you.
Hi, guys.
Hi, how's it going?
I like your red lipstick.
Oh my God, I like your face.
I like you. I like you.
Thanks, I like you too. Should we
All
just
right,
do-
well,
no.
you guys immediately have a friendship that I'm not a part of, but that's okay.
Well, Finn, I hope to build one with you too.
Yeah.
I feel like between this film and Stranger Things, you've gotten so good at reacting to supernatural things. And I was actually curious to ask the both of you, what are you thinking of when you're making the I just saw a ghost face?
Finn's face.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh God,
It's terrifying.
It's terrifying. No.
Yeah, I think of my face as well. No, I don't know. I mean, I feel like I'm just trying to imagine like what I would do in that situation, like if I did see a ghost, I guess. But I don't know. A lot of it I feel like is just like seeing other movies over the years and like trying to like copy what other actors have done, and it kind of becomes your own. And yeah, I don't know.
Have you used, what's like an actor that you've used as a reference of like being scared of something that's been helpful for you?
I think I was like really influenced by like at the beginning because like I had to sort of do it from a young age, like in Stranger Things and stuff. So like I feel like all the Goonies, like the Goonies, like how those kids reacted to like all the scary stuff happening was like great. And Neverending Story, like they're all like really based in like reality. Like they're all like none of them are too big. They're all like what kids would actually do. And so I think I was influenced by just like a bunch of movies where kids were in sort of like real danger. Yeah.
That's cool. I love that answer. Thanks for that. What about you, McKenna? What do you, or is it Finn?
Yeah, it's Finn.
It's my face.
They just have him stand in for the ghosts instead of like.
Yeah, I just walk in on my phone.
I start crying, and they're like, McKenna, you're just doing a scene with Finn.
Yeah.
This isn't a ghost thing.
On my phone?
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
I just feel like I grew up watching horror films. That was a really big bonding point for my dad and I, was that we were always really big into horror films. I loved one of my favorite movies whenever I was younger was Alien. I loved Sigourney Weaver in that franchise. I loved watching her. And whenever she's like there and the aliens coming around, like that's one of my favorite scenes ever. And so I don't know, I just grew up watching horror films. I really loved it. I loved being a part of them.
There's so much synchronicity in your upbringing, McKenna, because Sigourney's obviously in Ghostbusters. And also, I know growing up when you were little, I saw the photo of you in front of the Ghostbusters car.
Yeah.
You always take a picture with the car. But speaking of the Ecto-1, Finn, you obviously get to drive it. And you also get to interact with like my all-time favorite ghost, which is Slimer. So I was hoping you could tell us about what it was like for both of those things for you, interacting with the Ecto-1 and Slimer.
The Ecto-1 is so awesome. Like, it's so, I don't know, it feels kind of like a tank. Like, it's kind of like, it feels kind of indestructible. And it's such an iconic, like, piece of film history. So, like, I don't know, to be around it is, like, very surreal. And the Slimer thing was, like, incredible because it just was, like, there was a lot of practical effects being used. Like, there was a real puppet at a lot of points of Slimer, and a lot of it is taken from, the first one. They used the original mold from the first one to like make the puppet, so like it felt very much like the original, and so just to be around that was really surreal and really cool, rewarding.
That's so cool. That's so cool to know that you use the original mold.
Yeah.
McKenna, I wanted to ask you, because obviously your character gets benched because of her age for being a Ghostbuster. And I was wondering, since you guys are both such young, accomplished, incredible actors, I love both of your work, and you're 17 and Finn, you're 21. Have you guys ever felt that way in real life, where you have sort of felt
all
that
the
sort
time
of bench feeling because of your age? Really?
I feel like that's like, at least like, that's why we work a lot of the time too. It's like to kind of, sometimes like it's in spite of like proving to people that we know what we're doing. I don't know.
No, I mean, as a young actor, at least in my opinion, I think that you're constantly trying to prove yourself on sets, also just in the way of like, guys, like, I know I'm young, but I belong here too. Like, I know that you're all adults, but like, I can fit in and I'm here and cool, like, too, because it's, you work as a child with so many adults, and how do you fit in that environment sometimes? So it's a constant, like, trying to prove that you belong or that you know what you're doing, and you don't always know what you're doing, but definitely feel that way.
The thing is, like, it's nice like working with older people because you kind of realize like they don't really know what they're doing either. Yeah. So it's like, I don't know. I think that there's not much difference. We're all just like trying to work and be creative.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I love it. You guys are so grounded and like your worth and your talent, and I can feel that, and I love that about you guys because you guys are so good. Before I go, I thought we could have a little bit of fun if you guys are willing to play with me. In your best scared frozen pose, just moving your mouth, can you tell me what situation you would least want to be frozen in?
Swimming pool locker room.
Swimming pool.
That would be horrible. Oh my God.
Can I be of any help? Melnitz in uniform. Yes.
I'm so excited to talk to you today because, I mean, it goes without saying, but Ghostbusters obviously means so much to so many people, and fans of the original know that Ivan Reitman directed the first two, and then his son Jason directed Afterlife, but you co-wrote Afterlife with him. And then it feels like you guys kind of swapped roles because you co-wrote this one together, but you got to direct Frozen Empire, which I think is cool. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can totally hear you.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were Frozen, actually.
I'm just playing a Frozen Empire character. I'm just being one of the characters in the poster behind me. I was just thinking about how cool that was while we were talking about it. I mean, it absolutely is like an incredible honor. I mean, I am one of those Ghostbusters fans you talked about in your introduction. I approached this franchise with so much reverence. I saw this Ivan's first movie in 1984 in a movie theater. My dad took me to see it. I was too young. I was like 7 years old. It was really scary, really exciting, really funny. I didn't understand all the jokes, but I knew it was funny. And I feel so grateful that I'm able to be sitting in the director's chair on this film. You know, the process of working on Afterlife with Jason
who I've been friends with for almost 20 years, and you know, knew Ivan as my best friend's dad as much as a legendary producer and director. And we had talked about movies and about Ghostbusters over the years, but Jason was never at a place where he was ready to sort of take on that family mantle. And then we started to have a conversation about maybe he was ready, and he had an image that came into his head about a girl who was opening up a box, a rusty box, and finds a proton pack in it. And that image began an inspiring series of conversations that Jason and I had, where we began to build up a story and an entire world of new characters that were going to discover their legacy as Ghostbusters, as descendants of Ghostbusters, and how that would maybe rekindle the spark of this incredible franchise that meant so much to both of us in slightly different ways. And watching Jason make that film with his father as his producer at his side was such a beautiful experience, seeing the amount of love and respect between the two of them. Sadly losing Ivan just as we were about to embark on telling this second story was a loss that we feel still every day, but we honor Ivan in carrying the stories of the characters that he brought to life in his films with as much care and respect as he showed to them. And I'm so lucky to be able to say that Jason took on that same supportive and compassionate producing role for my film that Ivan took in Afterlife with Jason. And it's really meaningful, and I feel really, really grateful to be here talking about it.
Oh, I love your relationship with the Reitmans, and I love that you dedicated this film to him. It's a 40th anniversary, and I'm sure, you know, it's funny that the subject is ghosts, right? And so it's really also beautiful and full circle.
Well, and it also, you know, a relationship with ghosts indicates a relationship with our descendants, and appreciating the connection that we have both with the people who are still around us and who we can still learn from, and those who are no longer around, but we can still there are still lessons there, and that was part of the theme of Afterlife, and it continues. It's sort of in the DNA of the stories that we're telling now with this franchise.
And New York is so much a part of that DNA, right? So what was it like going back to the place where it all started?
Well, we knew when we were writing Afterlife that if we pulled it off, the natural end point would be returning back to New York City. And that was actually a conversation that was really early in our process of building the story of Afterlife, was that the second film would be a return to the ancestral home of Ghostbusters. And so I can't tell you what a thrill it was to be able to build that firehouse as a living, breathing environment for these characters, and to be able to write and stage action that took full advantage of every room in that house. It's a very special building. There's a reason that even between movies, if you come down here to Tribeca, you'll still see crowds of people from all over the world who make a pilgrimage to stand in front of the building, take photos, and just feel the connection to movies that have meant so much to them in their life.
I just want to ask, did anything like supernatural happen on set that was like, oh, there's like here? I'm always like so curious.
I mean, first of all, you're talking to the right guy, because I fully believe. I am open to the wonder of the other side. This movie was such a breakneck speed of shooting. If it happened, I was too busy trying to get the shot to realize it. But that's not to say it wasn't happening. And I was living in like a house that was 500 years old while I was making this movie. So I was fully ready, and I hit my head on the low ceilings like 4 times to the point of near concussion. But so I almost became the ghost. But I was definitely open to the possibility. And so if they were there, they were just there in a supportive, silent role.
Amazing. I have to ask, while we're on the topic of ghosts, is obviously back in the day, they had to use practical, effects. But nowadays, you get to pick between a practical ghost or a CGI ghost. So how do you make that decision on big movies like this?
Well, it's a great question, and a lot of times it's both within even the same shot, and it's about getting the best of both, right? With a practical effect, it means you get the soul of the object and of the puppetry that brings it to life, and there's nothing like it. When you get something tactile done in front of the camera, the audience can feel it, and so at every opportunity that I tried to get practical effects into this film. And then there are moments, I've been using digital tools almost since I've started making films. Even as a teenager, I was starting to play with digital tools, and there is an incredible ability that they have to conjure the unseen or the impossible. If you can find a way to interplay the two of them to get the best of each, it creates actually something that I think gets the best of both worlds.
You killed it, because I can't wait for fans to see Slimer, but my favorite name was Hell's Kitchen Sewer Dragon. I laughed out loud. But before I go, because I have to wrap up, what was it like directing all the old Ghostbusters and those legends?
It's unbelievable. I still can't believe that there were moments where I was standing on set waving my arms around like a raka, telling them, look over here and point your wands in this direction. And then you're going to march back. And I would give these directions that sound so wild, because they were, they were speaking to a fantastical apparition that wasn't there on set. And then these legends of cinema that had forged so much of my own passions as a film fan would follow my direction, and then I would go back and watch a take on the monitor, and it would just, every once in a while, I would have a sort of pinch me moment of like, these are characters I care so much about, and I just told them where to look and what to do, and they're doing it. It's amazing. It's the greatest. I feel so lucky.